The top stories tonight in One News. President Ferdinand Marcos urges his fellow Southeast Asian leaders for regional unity and centrality at the opening ceremony of 40th and 41st ASEAN Summits and related summits. One of the alleged middlemen behind the killing of broadcaster Percy Lapid denies he received money from the self-confessed gunman Joel Escorial. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte eyes to incorporate national culture of peace in the Department of Education curriculum. And President Joe Biden and President Xi Jinping set to meet in the G20 Summit amid high and growing tension between the United States and China. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, November 11, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. We are also seen in 1,000 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Harleen Delgado. First in the news. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. called on for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations to unite in response to challenges faced by the region. Nel Maribohok reports.
Today, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. joined his fellow Southeast Asian leaders at the opening ceremony of the 40th and 41st Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit and related summits in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. In his intervention during the 40th ASEAN Summit plenary, President Marcos emphasized the importance of regional unity to help the ASEAN address present challenges. He suggested the enhancement of ASEAN solidarity as the regional grouping confronts challenges such as natural disasters, health emergencies, armed conflicts, and economic recessions. PBBM highlighted the need to reassert ASEAN centrality or the role of the 10-member regional bloc amid the geopolitical dynamics and tensions in the region and the proliferation of Indo-Pacific engagements. President Marcos Jr. also called for the reinvigoration of the region's economies through tourism recovery, energy cooperation, as well as trade and investment revitalization. He added that the region should solidify food resilience and promote food self-sufficiency through the use of new technologies to protect the region from shocks to the global food value chain and effects of climate change. To address the climate crisis, the president called for a united voice and urged all countries to fulfill their obligation to attain carbon neutrality by 2050. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police has started issuing permit and guidelines for the manufacturing and sale of firecrackers and pyrotechnic products. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
The Philippine National Police stated that there is no total ban on firecrackers and pyrotechnic products in the country. As a matter of fact, the PNP Firearms and Explosives Office or FEO has started issuing permit for manufacturers.
Yung pagmamanufacture po at pagbebenta po ng firecrackers is allowed naman po, although regulated under Republic Act 7183.
Colonel Fajardo said the manufacturers undergone inspections and safety refresher course for their staff.
Usapin sila ng more or less 14 to 15 seminar nationwide at sabi nga po nila, inaasahan po nila na may mga series of seminars po nila para nga po mapaalalahanan sila na dapat sumunod sila, otherwise ay maapektuhan po yung palang negosyo. At the same time, they may be held liable under existing laws and policy po na nilabas po ng ating PNP.
The PNP issued safety guidelines for the manufacturing of firecrackers and pyrotechnic products. It should be 300 meters away from the nearest residential unit. With adequate ventilation, no concrete floor. It should be leak-proof and with fire extinguisher. Colonel Fajardo added, the use of firecrackers and pyrotechnics is still allowed but regulated.
prohibition po talaga doon sa inilabas na mga executive orders at saka sa mga guidelines po is yung paggamit po itong mga firecrackers at pyrotechnic devices na dapat ay ang paggamit lamang po nito ay doon lamang po sa loob ng mga designated community fireworks display areas po.
The PNP issues prohibited firecrackers such as overweight with more than 1/3 teaspoon or more than 0.2 grams of explosives, oversized with fuse that burn not less than 3 seconds but not more than 6 seconds, imported and no-label firecrackers, and those with sulfur or phosphorus mixed with chlorates. The firecrackers that are allowed to be used include baby rocket, bawang, small triangulo, pulling of strings, paper cups, El Diablo, Watusi, Judas Belt, Sky Rocket, or Quitis. The pyrotechnic products that are allowed to be used are luces, jumbo, mabuhay, Roman candle, trompilyo, air wolf, whistle device, and butterfly. Based on Section 11 of Republic Act No. 7183, or an act regulating the sale, manufacture, distribution, and use of firecrackers and other pyrotechnic devices, that anyone who caught violating the safety guidelines will be punished by fine of 20 to 30,000 pesos and imprisonment of 6 months to 1 year. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
One of the alleged middlemen, Christopher Bacoto, denied that he received money from the self-confessed gunman Joel Escorial over the killing of broadcaster Percy Lapid. Dante Amento tells us why.
In his supplemental extrajudicial confession, self-confessed gunman Joel Escorial disclosed that he gave 70,000 pesos to the alleged second middleman and inmate Christopher Bacoto. This after consummation of the crime to kill broadcaster Percy Lapid.
Si Bacoto raw, nagdidemand na sa kanya ng payment dahil tapos na raw yung trabaho. I-deposito na raw sa bangko.
But in his counter-affidavit filed before the prosecution this morning, Bacoto denied the allegation.
Siya raw ang kumausap sa kanya. Even for the payment, siya raw. So gumawa kami ng counter-affidavit denying all of it dahil si Christopher almost 4 years nang nakakulong sa high detention facility.
Bacoto's legal counsel, Attorney Salvador Quimpo, said Escorial did not mention his client in his first affidavit, only in the second affidavit. Thus, Escorial's statement is fabricated.
We cited yung fact na si Joel na gumawa ng statement, I think it was October 18, sinabi niya yung participation ng ibang respondents. And then he made another statement, karagdagan sa laysay, on October 22, 4 days after, doon niya lang binabanggit si Bacoto. So we do not know why, after 4 days, doon niya lang naisip isama si Bacoto. Dahil yung first statement niya, sinabi niya na lahat yung mga pinagbigyan niya ng pera, wala si Bacoto.
Bacoto asks the prosecution to dismiss the murder complaint against him. He also personally appeared in today's preliminary investigation to sign his counter-affidavit. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Department of Justice assures to give due process to suspended Bureau of Corrections Chief Gerald Bantag. In a statement released this afternoon, the DOJ said allegedly nobody wanted the evidence over the killing of broadcaster Percy Lapid to point to Bantag. Before the incident took place, Bantag and Remulla's relationship is strong and healthy. Remulla even insisted that Bantag will remain in his post. But based on the evidence or totality of the circumstances, it pointed Bantag and other respondents of the case.
In the words of Secretary Remulla, we hoped we could point at the drug syndicates as perpetrators. It was not good news when the evidence started to point to the respondents. But given the totality of the circumstances, the PNP and NBI had to stick to the evidence at hand. There is a proper forum and a proper time to thresh this all out.
Several government agencies have been allocated with higher funds for next year as the Senate concluded its second day of marathon deliberations for the 2023 national budget. This report will tell us why. After 16 hours of plenary debates, the Senate suspended its session at 2 a.m. on Friday. Several proposed budgets of government agencies for next year were approved in the plenary on the second day of marathon deliberations. During the debates on the proposed budget of the Department of Energy, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian revealed that the Energy Regulatory Commission or ERC decided to realign its 15 million peso proposed confidential fund to its digitalization program. This is to improve the ERC's capability in approving applications and resolving cases that are being filed by power industry players. Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Coco Pimentel lauded the move.
A good example, Mr. Chairman. Yan ang maganda.
Of course, the chairperson is...
It can be done. It can be done, and the chairperson distributed the amount, the lump sum, to particular lines in its budget.
Earlier, Pimentel scrutinized the 4.5 billion peso confidential and intelligence funds of the Office of the President, noting that it could be reduced and rechanneled to security-related agencies or to fund various social programs. Several agencies were also given increased budgets, including the Department of National Defense with 232 billion pesos. This was higher than the House version with 230 billion pesos. The budget of the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW was also increased by 2 billion pesos in the Senate's version. 4.3 billion pesos will be given to the Office of the Secretary, headed by Secretary Susan Tutz Opre, while 11 billion pesos will be given to the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA, which will become an attached agency of the new department. However, for Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, the agency deserves a bigger budget given the immense contribution of overseas Filipino workers or OFWs to the country. Senator J.V. Ejercito, who defended the agency's budget, noted that cash remittances from OFWs reached $148 billion or 2 trillion pesos over the past 5 years.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing the good that has been done. I'm just saying vis-a-vis the 4 trillion pesos na kinita for the OFWs. Ano ba naman yung bigyan natin ng 25 or 30 or 50 billion budget na kumpletos recados?
This will be the very first budget of the DMW since its creation in December 2021. The Senate budget debates will continue on Monday, November 14. Jorge Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
After weeks of planning, U.S. President Joe Biden will be meeting Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the Group 20 Summit. Jane Robles will tell us why live. Yes, Jane?
Kath, in the midst of high and growing tension between the United States and China, President Joe Biden and President Xi Jinping are set to meet for the first time in Bali, Indonesia. The White House announced the news on Thursday, stating that two presidents will discuss ways of keeping and strengthening communication to manage competition and cooperate in interests alike. President Biden expressed his interest to discuss the red lines which China and the United States currently have and to determine their interests and if they are in conflict or not. Tension between the two countries have increased after allegations against the Chinese mistreatment and human rights abuses towards the Uyghur people and their crackdown on Hong Kong and many more. Meanwhile, U.S. officials are anticipating the meeting of the two presidents, especially after President Xi Jinping has entered his third 5-year term as the Chinese leader of the Communist Party. Kath?
Thank you, Jane Robles, reporting live from Vietnam. Amidst the vote in favor for the first UK-wide strike after its 106-year history, the Royal College of Nursing Union, or RCN, has requested for a 17% pay rise. This, however, has been deemed not affordable, according to British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Live from London, United Kingdom, here's Giona Privado to give us the details live. Giona?
Yes, Kat. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak told media reporters after a meeting with the British-Irish Council that he shared everyone's respect and gratitude for UK nurses. But he added, however, that most people will recognise that RCN's request for a 17% pay rise is simply not affordable, amidst plans to cut government spending and proposed tax reforms. This comes after a majority of the return ballots sent to 300,000 RCN members 35 days ago voted in favour of the strike. The vote happened after the disagreement over pay when the government suggested a below-inflation average increase of 4.75% by 2023. The RCN union, which constitutes to around two-thirds of the NHS nurses, are expecting the first walkout before the end of this year. England's Health Secretary Steve Barclay said he deeply regretted the result of the vote. He plans to meet with the nursing unions to see how they would be able to resolve this issue. If strike goes ahead, it will not affect critical and urgent cases, but will have an impact on services such as scheduled operations like knee and hip replacements, district nursing, and psychological well-being care. Meanwhile, Matthew Taylor, Chief Executive of the NHS Confederation, suggested to the government and RCN to find a different solution to this. Kat?
Thank you, Giona Privado, reporting live from London, United Kingdom. Various cases of non-tuberculous mycobacteria have been reported among children who received pulpotomies at dental clinics in the United States, says CDC. Ruth Bahe gives us the details live. Ruth?
Yes, Kat. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, announced an emergency health advisory to alert dental patients and professionals about the importance of proper sanitation and oral hygiene in dental water lines and equipment. Multiple outbreaks of non-tuberculous mycobacteria were reported in March 2022, involving children ages from 4 to 8 after undergoing pulpotomies, according to American Dental Association. Pulpotomy, Kat, is a dental procedure performed mostly in children in which the severely decayed tooth was removed. Investigation is currently ongoing and a preliminary site visit has been conducted. This is the third cluster where similar outbreaks happened last 2015 and 2016. Kat, these rare bacterial infections can be transmitted to patients from contaminated water lines with high levels of bacteria, resulting many children develop serious infections with clinical diagnosis such as cervical lymphadenitis and mandibular osteomyelitis, and required hospitalization treatment as intravenous antibiotics and surgical procedures. And complications from their infections included tooth loss, hearing loss, facial nerve palsy, and incision fibrosis, according to CDC. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Ruth Bahe, reporting live from Vietnam. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Kath. The Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System, or MWSS, is now reviewing the petitions of two water concessionaires for the increase in water rates for the next 5 years. A total of 13.31 pesos per cubic meter for Maynilad and 19.25 pesos for Manila Water. In 2023, Maynilad rate would increase by 3.29 pesos per cubic meter, while 8.04 pesos for Manila Water. For Maynilad customers, this would translate to 5.28 peso increase for the monthly bill of those consuming 10 cubic meters, 20.29 pesos for 20 cubic meters, and 41.71 pesos for those consuming 30 cubic meters. For Manila Water consumers, those belong to the Lifeline consumer has no increase, but regular consumers consuming 10 cubic meters will be added with 41.20 pesos on their monthly bill, 91.59 pesos for 20 cubic meters, and 187.10 pesos for those consuming 30 cubic meters. Maynilad plans to spend 163 billion pesos in the next 5 years for building facilities to improve its services. MWS has said that it is up to their board to decide on the matter. The Department of Transportation announces that EDSA Carousel free ride will be 24/7 starting mid-December. JP Nunez tells us why.
To ensure enough buses as influx of passengers is expected on holiday season, the Department of Transportation decided to implement longer operating hours of EDSA Carousel for free ride. Starting December 15 until December 31, free ride on EDSA busway will be 24/7.
From December 15 onwards, magiging 24 hours na yung libreng sakay. Ngayon, yung 11 to 4, merong bayad.
In the previous statement, Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA said they will ask the DOTR to extend the carousel at least until midnight. This to ensure mall employees that they can still avail the carousel as mall hours will be extended until 11 p.m. starting Monday. However, the DOTR said they can implement the extension of free ride only by December as this can only be covered by the fund from 1.4 billion peso allocated in service contracting program. To other commuters who need to take EDSA Carousel at midnight, the 24/7 free ride would be so much beneficial.
Ay di, salamat po. Malaking kabawasan na rin po yung sa pamasahe namin kasi ang pamasahe ko po kung tutusin, balikan po 150. Pag 25 po yung carousel.
Malaking tulong, nakakatuwa kasi parang iniisip nga namin dati, parang kailangan namin habulin hanggang 11 kasi walang bayad. So kahit madaling araw, parang hindi na kami gigising ng maaga para lang habulin yung 11 p.m. or bago mag-11 p.m. para hindi na kami magbayad.
Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista said the agency can only promise free ride on EDSA Carousel only by December 31. By January next year, the EDSA busway will start collecting fees unless Congress will allot another budget for the extension of service contracting program on bus companies.
Wala po tayong budget sa libreng sakay for next year. Hindi po yan naisama dun sa ating National Expenditure Program na sinubmit ng Department of Budget and Management sa Congress natin, na ngayon ay still under deliberation.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The price of red onion increased by 10 pesos today based on the price monitoring of the Department of Agriculture. The prevailing price in Metro Manila markets is 250 pesos per kilogram or an 80 peso difference compared with the 170 pesos suggested retail price or SRP. Danny Fausto, the president of the Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food Incorporated, said the SRP is justifiable and the price now is too high. He noted that other vendors take advantage of the supply shortage. The Agriculture Department started delivering onions directly to retailers for them to sell it at SRP.
Dahil shortage, either wholesaler or the retailer, magsasamantala na dyan. Kaya pumapasok ka ng 240, 220 at retail sa palengke.
Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte said the Department of Education is eyeing to incorporate national culture of peace in the curriculum to further strengthen the advocacy of peace, protection, and sustainable development among school children. In her speech during the annual Kusog Mindanao Conference held in Davao City, Duterte said that with the peace and development being enjoyed by every Mindanaoan, it is now peace harvest season in Mindanao, adding that peace is a delicate, fragile, and will always demand collective attention. She also shared her experience in politics that made her realize that the antidote to war is good governance, which she said breeds public trust.
A formal investigation against French construction firm Vinci Construction Grand Projet has been started by the French criminal justice system due to allegations of abusive working conditions for the 2022 FIFA World Cup building sites in Qatar. A legal complaint against the construction company was filed by two French human rights groups, Sherpa and the Committee Against Modern Slavery, in 2019. Testimonies about the working conditions from construction sites linked to the World Cup operated by Vinci were collected by Sherpa since 2014. Allegations such as working in the heat over 45 degrees Celsius with inadequate water source or shade, withholding passports, paying significant sums of money to the recruitment agencies, fainting, and insufficient access to showers in accommodations. A lawyer for Vinci has rejected the accusations, and they were given 15 days to prepare for the summons, and they believe that Sherpa's case is weak. Qatar will host the 2022 FIFA World Cup from November 20 until December 18. Vaxis, a Brisbane-based biomedical company, has kicked off its first human clinical trial of its needle-free COVID-19 patch, said to have the potential to cover all major SARS-CoV-2 variants. Marvy Delfin will give us the details live. Yes, Marvy?
Kath, residents across the state of Queensland in Australia are being called to roll their sleeves up and take part in a collaborative clinical study by Vaxis and the University of the Sunshine Coast. At this stage, the research will observe 44 healthy adults aged 18 to 50 years, triple vaccinated against COVID-19, with the last dose administered at least 4 months prior. Vaxis' proprietary HD map technology has been previously tested in 3 studies with over 300 participants. Meanwhile, the patches have been tested on children for any adverse reaction. However, this new Phase 1 trial will collect data on its safety, tolerability, as well as antibody responses. According to the Chief Technology Officer of Vaxis, Dr. Angus Forster, the surface of the patch are coated with a dense array of microprojections aimed at the skin, which is the body's natural infection barrier and where there are an abundance of immune cells. In addition, the patches, in contrast to the usual injection-based vaccination, are intended to be used at home and are not sensitive to strict temperature controls. This innovative and cost-effective solution opens up the possibility of making medicine more accessible, particularly to people living in remote towns where health services are limited. Vaxis is currently working to gain approval from the Therapeutic Goods Administration, or TGA, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA. Kath?
Thank you, Marvy Delfin, reporting live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I'm Kat Tumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Good evening.
Government-owned TV network Intercontinental Broadcasting Corporation, or IBC13, has been given a budget for next year. In the Senate budget deliberations, Senator J.V. Ejercito, who defended the budget, said the Senate moved to allocate 619 billion pesos for the network. Under the 2023 national budget, IBC13 was not given any funding due to plans to privatize the network. The budget will be used for the payment of salaries and unpaid retirement benefits of IBC workers since 2009.
The committee deemed it necessary to once and for all settle this obligation because the personnel, this is their money because they earned it through the years, Your Honor.
Amid the issues faced by the Bureau of Corrections, a former Bucor chief and Dangerous Drugs Board chairperson believes there should be a change in the system and management in Bucor. The former official said there is a need to decongest detention facilities. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The National Penitentiary, or New Bilibid Prison, has the capacity for 6,000 inmates. However, it currently houses around 30,000 inmates. Due to this, there are numerous cases of corruption and crimes were reported inside prisons, including the slay of veteran journalist Percy Lapid, where inmates are involved in planning the crime.
Segregation talaga. Segregation. Overcrowded. Noong time ko, isang building, nasa 1,000 plus na. At 12,000 na maximum. No? Kaya ngayon, almost 30,000 ang National Penitentiary. Nasa 20 plus na yata ang maximum. So wala ka nang, ang control mo doon nawawala dahil intermingling.
According to retired General Joniso Santiago, former Chief of Bureau of Corrections, overcrowding in detention facilities might cause an increase of smuggling and other crimes. Aside from decongestion, the former official also said the management should also be changed.
Pupuntahan mo doon sa yung utak ng Pinoy, pero sasabay mo na structural change. Hindi po pwede structural lang. Meron ka reformation ng pati government officials, yung changing of attitude. Pag hindi mo na bago attitude ng Pinoy, baliwala lahat yung structures mo.
The Department of Justice requested for a 4 billion peso budget for a super maximum security prison in Occidental Mindoro. Justice Secretary Boying Remulla said the facility is for around 2,000 inmates convicted of heinous crimes. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Agriculture issued the Special Order number 1002 that allows the importation of 25,000 metric tons of fish. Among the variety that may be imported are round scad, big eye scad, mackerel, bonito, and moonfish. Importation is allowed from November to January, wherein fishing ban is being implemented. The price of brown scad now is 200 pesos per kilogram for imported and 240 for locally catched. Our kasambahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Escorial of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Romans, chapter 2, verse 13. It says, "For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified." And those are the reasons behind the news, November 11, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. Because we need to know. We will always ask why. I am Hardin Delgado. We serve the people. We give glory to God.